Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first Artist Offstage interview for the 2020 and 2021 season. Joining me today is one of our members of the Resident Artist program. We have Mia Athey. How are you doing, Mia?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you, Pablo?
Oh, good, good. Trying not to think about the impending cold weather that we're about to start having here. But
True. It's on its way.
yeah. Yeah, trying to stay upbeat about it. So we're here today because we want to get to know you. We've seen you on stage, especially this last season. Obviously, not so much this season because we're not really having on-stage performances. Um, so we're familiar with your work on stage, and we would like to get to know the person. So I guess I'll start off really broadly and ask you, how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. Well, the answer to that question all started with me taking the last bit of my money from being a full time teacher and investing it in this program, this summer program at CCM, or the College Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati. And it was a summer opera studio program, and I really wanted to go and find out about CCM. I actually had no idea what CCM even meant or stood for, um, but I went and I did their program. It was 3 weeks, and it was the best 3 weeks of my life. I fell in love with CCM, and then I auditioned for CCM in the fall, and that was the fall of 2016. And then I got into their program. I got the scholarship I wanted, and that was their master's program in voice. And then went there for 2 years, and then auditioned for Glimmer Glass in Minnesota Opera, and now I'm here. So that one decision is what led me here.
That's amazing. So I guess I want to start all the way back to the beginning. Um, I'm going to ask you a series of questions here that are maybe not the questions that you would normally get in an interview, especially as you're working as a singer. So my first question is, what is your earliest memory as a child?
My earliest memory as a child, they're like two memories in one. Um, I remember my room as a child and being in um, the white uh, crib that I was in. I remember like touching the side of the crib and looking like out the door. Um, and then I also remember being like carried into that room. So I
Oh my gosh.
I have like the memory of being in the room and then going into the room. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I got.
It's so interesting, like the things that we remember, right? Like,
Right.
the next question, and it is, I guess, sort of a two-part question, um, is when you think about your childhood, what did your childhood sound like, and what did it maybe smell like?
So my childhood sounded like I would say laughter.
Hmm.
I don't know if excitement has a sound, but definitely excitement. And there was a lot of exploration. That's like my childhood, and even now, there's still a lot of exploration. um,
Some things don't change.
right. Everything I did felt like it was in a movie. I'm not sure when
Cool.
it stopped feeling like that, but definitely when I was young, it felt like that. And it smelled like pancakes, which are like my favorite breakfast
Yum.
food, bacon, sweet things, because my mom is an amazing cook and she was always trying new recipes and always cooking. And my grandma was always cooking. I lived with both of my grandparents and my mom for most of my upbringing. Um, so waking up to always smelling sweet things was my
Mm,
childhood.
sure makes like a sweet childhood. Um, when you were a child, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up? And if it's different than what you ended up being, when did that change or how did that change?
Well, what I wanted to be when I grew up was it was in the same vein of what I'm doing now. I wanted to be a contemporary R&B or pop singer,
Nice.
and yeah, I just I believed in it. And it's so
Who
fun.
were like your idols in that world, in that R&B world?
Oh gosh. Alicia Keys,
Yes.
Beyonce, Destiny's Child. I think my first concert was it was definitely like Alicia Keys, and I think it was Beyonce. This was back when you could get like all of these, amazing singers together for a cheap price.
Right, right.
But yeah, those were Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
I was obsessed with him. I still am. He's amazing, and yeah, I think that's maybe a little bit of Usher.
Okay.
A lot of old school. I would say a lot of '80s R&B,
Hmm.
even '80s rap. Like that's what we would listen to. Boys to Men. I know
Yeah.
like I know their albums backwards and forwards because we had the tape. So
Nice. So when
yeah,
did that change to like classical music or opera?
I heard when I when I was in high school, um, people were telling me that I had a lot of potential to be an opera singer. So
Hmm.
it's pretty cool when a bunch of people keep telling you the same thing, and you're like, "Oh, I have this potential, and I
Hmm.
can feel it, and who knows what can happen." Even though I don't know much about opera, like the closest thing I have to opera was I would have like a radio clock on my nightstand, and to go to sleep, I would listen to classical music because it calmed me down.
Okay.
And then sometimes during the day, I'd listen to it. So when I would walk out with my grandma, I would find like very thin sticks and I would collect them and I would keep them under my bed. I wasn't allowed to bring like sticks in the house. And I would use them as conducting batons, to just listen to the music and,
Yeah.
whatever pattern I thought would work. So,
Who knew that would one day become a class, right?
ew, a class I'd have to take as a junior. Who knew? But to like specifically answer your question, uh, I heard that you can make a lot of money singing opera. I was like, oh,
Um,
maybe I'm in the wrong business. Maybe like, I have more potential to do the opera instead of the R&B, and that was the beginning. And then, of course, other things happened. I realized the lie and fell in love with it by then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit that like people were telling you that you had a lot of potential. Usually, we hear those kinds of things from, I mean, our support system, whether that's like our parents, our friends, or our teachers. Um, do you have any teachers that had an especially big impact on you,
Like teachers specifically regarding opera or
or
just
any kind of teacher, really?
okay. In general, it like goes all the way back to first grade. She was my first and third grade teacher. Her name is Mrs. Sharon Jones, and she has been and she just always believed in me.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I'm actually close friends with a lot of my teachers. She's one of them. Miss Pre Music from St. Mark's, Dr. Fadala, who was my choir teacher from elementary school, and then it skipped middle school, but then she was my choir director in high school. She gave me opportunities to sing duets. I think the first thing I really sang was Suladia, and
Hmm.
um, I believe I was actually the countess, and it was great. I was like, I don't know this language Italian, but it's like Spanish, and I have studied Spanish, so
Hmm.
it was cool. More specifically, teachers recently, Dr. Gwen Coleman from CCM. She was a highlight of my time at CCM. She really believed in
Mhm.
me, um, and still does. And she's an excellent teacher. Diane Atherton is who I believe helped get me into CCM.
Mhm.
And Charlotte Holloman, who passed away. Um, when I had met her, I was 1 year out of uh, 1 year out of undergrad, and I was teaching full time at a charter school in DC, and she was my teacher. And I mean, the lessons we had, I mean, the price I was paying, it was so discounted. It was amazing. And she was also the start of the voice that is now. Because what happened in
Mhm.
undergrad, that was a different voice. She's different. But when I met Charlotte, she really, we would just sing these same phrases of a piece over and over again. And she's like, "This is all you're gonna do." And unfortunately, she passed away.
Mhm.
Her breast cancer came back from remission, and her passing is what made me decide to stop teaching. And that's when I went to go work at the Kennedy Center as an intern. Um, but it's amazing how her life impacted me so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and two other people would be Mrs. Johnson uh, from she was my English teacher in high
Mhm.
school, and Susan Moser from CCM, our movement teacher, an
Oh,
amazing dancer, wonderful spirit.
wonderful, wonderful. And I guess the next question I had is, I guess, sort of related in some ways. But who have been your biggest cheerleaders in your life? And I guess this can now be people who maybe aren't your teachers.
Okay. um, the biggest cheerleader of all is my mom.
They're the
she
best.
she has she is always like she's always believed in me when I said I wanted to do something. When I wanted to dance, she put me in dance class. When I
Mhm.
wanted to dance um, more, she put me, so it was ballet and then ballet and jazz and ballet, jazz and tap. And she saw talent, and she just saw passion, and she fostered it. Even with
Mhm.
singing, I wasn't, I mean, I would sing all the time when I was young. And of course, we all think we're the best thing. Um, but I knew my voice wasn't there yet. I was like, it's just not, it hasn't hit that moment where it's good. And my mom knew that too, but she saw my passion. And she's so, to this day, she's so glad that she did foster that and nourish that. Because who knew that the little kid that was just like belting all over the place, for anyone that would listen would grow up to be an opera singer in Minnesota.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you've been pursuing a career in singing now for a while. What would you say are the biggest rewards and challenges of pursuing a singing career?
um I will start with the rewards. um the biggest rewards are, well, I thought the biggest rewards are when you set a goal for yourself and then you achieve it. That's what
Mhm.
I thought it was.
Mhm.
And I'm learning that is one of the rewards, but another even bigger reward is what you learned about yourself to get to that goal, to achieve it.
Mhm.
Um, like for me, the most recent thing was getting into Glimmer Glass and Minnesota Opera
Mhm.
consecutively. That was a very big goal that I wasn't expecting. Coming out of grad school, I had plans from A to G, and Plan A was the Minnesota Opera and Glimmer Glass, and I
Mhm.
didn't think that was going to happen, and it happened. And those audition experiences were very special for me, And some of my most vulnerable and what I would consider my best singing, um, because I started to just get out of, singer brain and thinking brain. I just reacted and I was in the moment. Um, and that's what the art's all about.
Hmm.
Um, so the biggest um, challenges I'm finding is really, really loving yourself throughout the whole process.
Okay.
Um, Especially now with audition season going on.
Hmm.
And for myself, there have been, a few applications where I've already gotten the rejection letter. And, understanding that that rejection letter isn't a reflection of what I think of myself.
Yeah.
I'm really big on validating myself first. I think everyone should validate yourself first. And then whatever comes, the gig, the compliment, the agent, the international success, that's just a compliment to what you already know, like what's
Yeah.
already inside of you, what you believe. Um, and I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges because let's face it, right now I'm feeling this mood of like self love. And then I'll get the next rejection letter and it'll be like, hmm, you know?
Yeah.
So just remembering that it's a practice because
Right.
that's what this profession is about, and I think that's why we lose people is because it's about the passion and the tenacity and the grit and yes, it is about that and holding on and going as long as you can. But I feel like if you really love yourself during the process, it'll be worth it, come rain or shine, come success or what we might consider failure.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, so obviously, like being that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and everyone's kind of exploring different interests and activities and things like that. I'm going to have you finish a phrase here. Um, when I am not singing or working, I am usually blank.
Okay. When I'm not singing or working, I'm usually doing a lot of things. Get ready for a list. um, I'm dancing, I'm writing, I'm watching Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love space and astrophysics.
Brilliant.
Um, I'm studying world religions because I think there's so many similarities that we should focus on instead of the
Mhm.
differences. Um, and I'm finding new thriller shows or movies to binge on Netflix.
Nice. What are you watching right now?
Right now, I am watching Sleepy Hollow. Oh darn, it's on Hulu, but same difference. Excellent show. I just finished the first season. It's good.
Nice, nice. Um, so you mentioned writing. Um, People should know this is not just writing in your journal for a couple minutes every night. This is like serious writing. Like, tell us a little bit about how you got interested in writing and what kind of writing you do.
Sure. Fun fact: I do not journal. Not like that. Um, I keep like separate notebooks for like ideas and stuff, but I
Mhm.
don't like journal. I think it's cool that other people do it, but I've never just never gotten into it.
Yeah.
Um, so what got me started in writing? It goes way back to high school. I was a junior in my honors English 3 class, and my teacher, Mrs. Anna Johnson, who I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
um, she she really inspired me with the prompts that she would give for the different essays and the analysis we would write on different books that we read in class.
Mhm.
And she really worked with me to help me really craft my ideas or my argument or to like prove a point in my essays. And that's where this love for writing started because there definitely wasn't a love for reading. I was never a fan of reading. TV, film. that was my playground,
Mm-hmm.
like all the time. Like to give you an idea of how much I like TV, when I was a child, I would come home from school, make sure my homework was done, and I would sit in like in the crook between our living room and dining room, and I would either have a bowl of Captain Crunch or a large sweet pickle, and I would just sit and watch Nickelodeon all day until like my mom came home.
That's
um,
amazing.
but back to I digress. Back to the writing. This teacher of mine really got me interested in that, and I also had a friend at the time who lived in Louisiana, and we kept our friendship going. I lived in Maryland, and we
Mhm.
kept our friendship going through email, writing to each other, writing story ideas to each other, and creating stories together. Um, and yeah, sometimes I would even write down the ideas on like an index card in class. I
Mhm.
think that's where the multitasking really came in. Like I would be listening fully and then also like trying to grab every idea like that came to me, which only came in this class. So
That's awesome. And you just finished a book, right? This summer?
yes, I just finished a book. It's a psychological thriller.
Ooh.
Um, it's about a serial killer. I have a thing with serial killers. It's not what they do, not the real ones in real life, but
Right, right.
writing about them. It's fascinating. Everyone asks like, why a serial killer? I'm like, I don't know. Like, why is the sky blue? You
Yeah.
I just that's just what I write about. Um, yeah, so I'm working on making my second draft right now. It's been a little challenging because I'm reading it, finding some good stuff, finding some stuff. I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that, and trying to trying to get that second draft finalized, and eventually in the process of publishing, hopefully, definitely having it published one day in the future.
Yeah. Well, when that happens, we'll definitely be looking out for you at our local bookstores. That's really awesome.
Great, thank you. I can't wait.
So, like I mentioned before, obviously we're in the middle of a global pandemic and things have not been normal at the opera just as they are anywhere else. Um, but particularly for you, they've been a little bit different even from your colleagues in the resident artist program. Can you tell us a little bit about why that is and what you're hoping to get from the resident artist program this particular year?
Sure. Things have been different for me because I'm staying at home. Um, and I found that my time here during the pandemic, I've made more progress at home than I than I have when I'm down the street at the Opera Center, which is to me is just so fascinating. But it makes sense because I've had a lot of time to think about sort of why I do this, and what I how I really want to tell a story when I sing an aria or an art song. Um, and I am the only rap that is staying at home.
Mhm.
And I mean, it has its benefits. I'm safe,
Yeah.
and I'm healthy, thank God. But it's hard, I don't go outside as much. I do sometimes go out and walk with friends here and there.
Mhm.
I get my groceries delivered to me. I have my coachings, and
Mhm.
everything is via Zoom.
Yep.
Um, I think I've met the other raps once in person all together when I finally was like, okay, I'll go out the house. Uh, so that's how it's been. You had another question.
Just kind of what you're hoping to get out of this year in the program.
Yeah. Well, I can't get what I would usually get, and that's experience on the stage, and I miss it so much.
Mhm.
Um, but I hope to get a better sense, and I believe I'm getting a better sense of who I want to be as an artist.
Mm.
um, and what I want my message to be. What do I want to say? What stories do I want to tell? What composers and librettists speak to me the most?
Mhm.
Um, and what are better ways to get other people, interested in opera? Even people who aren't singers, even people who aren't future conductors or administrators. What about, just future lovers of opera or people that are just interested in it? Yeah.
Yeah, all great questions and all great things to think about.
Yeah.
Um, well, I am at my last question here. Um, I want to make sure that we always end these on a positive note. Um, maybe not always just thinking about pandemics and things like that. um, so what is something that has been bringing you joy or inspiration as of late?
To answer that, it's not going to be just one thing.
Mhm.
So one thing that's been bringing me joy, I would say the most, has definitely been dancing. Um, One of my dancing friends, who also teaches tap classes that I take, her name is Danielle Jackman. She told me about her jazz teacher, Blue Siampole, from Steps on Broadway, and I've been taking a jazz class of his once a week, as much as I can, since July, and it's an advanced beginner jazz class, beginner advanced. It's an advanced jazz class. um, and it's been great. So, what I've done with that is I've taken some of my favorite combinations that I've learned, and I've recorded myself doing it, and I post it on my Instagram, and I call it hashtag Stepping Saturdays. And I
Love
try
it.
to post it on a Saturday. Sometimes it's on a Sunday. But it's brought me so much joy. I mean, I have over it's way more than 15, but over 15 years of dance experience, ballet, tap, jazz, modern, a little bit of hip hop. Um, so it's been great. I just it's been very what's the word I'm trying to look for? I can't think of the word. Meditative. It's been
Yeah.
meditative to me, where
Yeah.
dance has not always been that.
Mhm.
So it's been wonderful. Um, Another thing that I've been finding joy doing is something that I've been doing in the month of October, which is 31 days of Halloween. So every day I do, I do something, related to Halloween, whether it's like jack-o'-lantern Pop Tarts, or yesterday I did like spider deviled eggs.
Nice.
Just fun things. Later on in the month, I'm gonna dress up like different characters and do that and crafts and stuff. And it's been just giving me joy doing this once a day,
Yeah.
and trying to post it once a day. um, and yeah, I have two singing projects I'm working on. Hopefully, gonna get in by the end of this year. Um, just to show people what I do, what I've been doing,
Yeah.
these past like 7 months. And watching TV. I'm currently watching Sleepy Hollow. It's a really good show.
Nice.
It's really good.
Well, Mia, thank you so much for spending this time with me and with everyone watching. I feel like we got to know you a little bit better as a person and not just only seeing you on stage. So thanks again, and we hope to get to know you even a little bit better later on. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Pablo.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too.